and sisters, this is Brother Ireland. I'm going to do a talk about Google Analytics. Google Analytics will allow you to access the details about who visits your page, and it can be leveraged to help you understand how things are working. But first off, we'll talk about setting up a demo account. Just Google demo account, Google Analytics, and right here it tells you how to set it up. You'll usually want an account that's separate for the business account. You don't use your personal email for business websites. And so what happens once this starts loading properly is it'll allow you to see the details of who visits. Okay, so it's already set up a demo account. It already logged me in, but that site will actually allow you to set up a demo account. Okay, so right here we got the home page. But before you'll get any details, you'll need to add the code onto the website. Okay, so this may take a second for everything to load and to move smoothly. I'm sorry, it's just my internet sometimes goes really slowly, and I just got to work with what I've got. No, okay, so if you're using something like WordPress, Google already has an analytics tool built in. You could just add the plugin called Google Analytics by Monster Insights. It used to be Google Analytics by Yoast, but Yoast sold out to Monster Insights or something along those lines. Okay, so here we've got our page of who's visiting, what time they're visiting, what regions. I'm getting a lot from the United States. And this is actually not connected to my my account. This is actually my wife's website for her her book and marketing. Is mobile, a lot of mobile, some desktop, and a few tablets. And it talks about trends and all that, this good stuff. Very informative. That's over just the past 7 days. When you build the analytics into your website, you can get the scripts and you will put it into your scripts folder and then link to the script from the header. And as long as the header's on all pages, it should work. If you've got something like WordPress, they actually have a folder that is the default header for everything. And so you put it into that folder, and every web page as it makes it inserts that default header. And so that'll track the page it is and all that good stuff. So if you're doing something like WordPress, remember that you will need to ignore administrator and editor logins, just because that's how it all works. They'll sometimes count administrators looking at the page as a visit when it shouldn't. So make sure make sure you've got that. Oh, here's a good thing about it: real-time overview. Let's see if I can get this to work. So on my other computer, I'm going to log into this web page, and right now it's saying I've got no users, but I've actually just logged in onto the other computer. It'll take a bit, but that users should change. Oh, there you go. It's starting to show me logged in. It has a timer of how long I'm on and how many pages I've visited. So I'm clicking around to a few different things, and I clicked off. Okay. And that should tell you how many pages I've visited and all that. So this is part of the informative thing. Okay, that's the home page. Earlier it was books, based upon just where I spend most of my time. It's roughly Utah. Okay. And so that's useful, since this web page doesn't have any marketing or doesn't have driving people to the page right now. We don't have a lot of overview, and that's all right. That's just what we need for now. Okay, so audience, you've got this one. I want to click on the overview. Not a lot of 13 users in the past week, which isn't a lot, so let me change the date to something that's a little bit more usable. Okay. During this time, my wife did a blog post on Facebook and it got some traction. So we got a lot of people going to a single blog during this week time frame. Apply. Okay. So we have a huge spike of almost 500 users in a single day. And that's useful. That's good. And it gives us more of how many users over the week, how many sessions, how many most users only had a single session. Pages per session was most people stayed on the single page. And that's alright. A lot of, like 97.4% of the users within the US, you could break it down by country or even city. Give it a second to keep loading. And this could be useful if your website is trying to do billboards and you want to say, oh, how many people are actually listening? Or if you were doing a Facebook ad and you're doing it by region. If you do Facebook solely to Salt Lake region, but you find you're getting a lot of traction in Idaho, it may mean that your Facebook audience is sharing it with those in Idaho, and that may be useful. Maybe if you're maybe you want to do tours based upon whatever you're selling. And so that's useful. You could break it down some more, and looks like Safari is a very popular one, at least in app. So that will probably mean it's a Safari on iPhone. So a fair amount of traction there. So that could be useful. Meaning that maybe I want to, for the sake of my wife, she sells books. Maybe we want to make sure we get onto iBooks rather than just solely on Kindle Unlimited or Kindle. And up here you noticed there's a compare, so I can compare to previous period, like a week prior. And that'll let us see how that campaign, or if you're doing an ad campaign, how it compares, okay? So Google Analytics is useful, and it's almost nothing. So you can see that there's almost nothing. We had a huge boost for a week or so, and then it tapered off fairly quickly, and that's most of our stuff aren't done. Most of our sales aren't done through the website. Let me go back to that previous one because there's something I missed to share. So you got new users and users, and that's useful to know. That's comparing them. So let's remove the comparison. So it just tells us how many we've got. So over that week, we had 900 users, 920 of them were new or people that hadn't previously visited. Bounce rate, 92%. That means 92% of them went to a single web page and then left. Maybe they downloaded it, maybe that may happen, I'm not sure, but it just may be how Facebook works with them. But that bounce rate is something that's useful. And session duration, if people aren't staying very long, if you're doing a web sales, your session duration needs to be long enough for people to actually read the blurb of the book, etc. Okay, so I want to show acquisition. Let's see. Acquisition, and then overview. Acquisition is basically how users found your website. Once again, it should be based upon that week in March last year. Social, meaning social media, Facebook and the like. Direct, how many people typed in the website directly, Ghostlight Publishing. How many did it through search engines and how many people referred to it. And it breaks it down, the bounce rate. So a lot of the people that organically searched stayed a little longer. Conversions is a metric. Once again, if you're doing a campaign, you want to know how many of them led to sales. And conversions is the metric of how many showed up to your page versus how many actually made a purchase. Because if people are showing up to your page, it means your ad's working. If your conversions are bad, it means your web page isn't flowing smoothly to the act now sort of buttons. And that's something that's very useful. Some things that I'm not seeing in the acquisition page is paid search. And that's another big section. So if I'm running Google Ads, it'll show up under paid search, and that's good to know, and that's where it'll show up. Okay. Now we want to look some more at behavior. Behavior flow. This is going to build a map of how people entered your site versus how they left your site. And right here is people looking at the blog post, and that's how many people left after reading that one blog post that she made, which is fine. It's not, she wasn't trying to lead to sales. It just is where she hosted the blog post. And now you got some people learning more about her. You got people going to the homepage. You got people that Follow the Music is one of her books. Blog is where she recorded other blogs. We had some people going there. We did have some people coming in from the blog, moving again to another blog, and then up to the blog review policy, of course, which has changed since then. Okay, so we got 6 more. So we want to look at the group details, and these are some of the other pages. So this gives you a flow. So right here, if I was trying to make sales, I'd say that's not enough conversions to a sale page. It's not what we're doing, but that's where you would look. And then you got second interaction, third interaction. So we got quite a few people bouncing around the page and just checking the website out, and that's okay. 18 drop-offs, 10 drop-offs. Okay, 951 drop-offs. So this is very informative to know where people are coming and where people are going, and if they're actually staying where they are expected to stay. If you got people going to the books that you're trying to sell and then they're not going to the card, then you know there's some transition going on. And that's, people will look at books and choose not to buy, but certain ratio needs to be understood as being too much. A few more things is you can connect Google AdWords and it'll show up under the audience. But you can if you've got a Google AdWords account, you can tie in, there we go, Google Ads, and you can tie it into with this account so that the campaigns of selling stuff is better tied in with your website, so you know how things are going and how things are flowing. And then you would go to audience, and then you would go to overview, and you would compare 1 week from before the campaign started to 1 week after the first week of the campaign, and you'd see if it's helped. It'll allow you to better break down the campaigns and see what's going on. So you've got some customization too. Dashboards. Create. Hold on, that's the previous one. Start a dashboard from gallery. These are dashboards that are pre-made based upon what people find useful. Okay. So we've got Occam's razor. Much like any other selection, you could add several on search engine optimization dashboard, find the top content and keywords to help make sure that goes. Social media dashboard. If you feel you need to work on social media, this probably is a good one. It's referential track, audience snapshot, AdWords performance, and there you go. 11,000. Over 11,000 of these different dashboards you can choose from. and they are there to make sure that you get what you were looking for when you show up. This is basically the default dashboard that showed up when I did it. It's giving me basically some of the information that most people find necessary to do this job. Thank you. I hope this was helpful. I didn't want to do one about how to install Google Analytics into your website. It's fairly straightforward. I wanted to show you why analytics was useful. Got any questions, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you've got to say.